Good evening. We'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township for April 19th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time, if Pastor Rob Malik and Engage Life Church could come up and open us up in prayer.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just want to give you thanks for who you are, give you thanks for your Son, Jesus, and give you thanks for your Spirit, the Holy Spirit. We give you thanks for this past weekend and what it represents, Easter to us and the resurrection and all that goes with it. And we just want to give you thanks for that. Thank you, Jesus, for all the work you've done on the cross. And Lord, I just want to lift up everybody that's in this room. I pray for wisdom, Lord. Your wisdom, give us all your wisdom. We need that. And help us to understand what you would want from us, your kids. We love you and we praise you and we thank you for all that you do. We pray this in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, at this time we'll look for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda is submitted.
Support. Okay, motion supported. Ms. Janizek, discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Ms. Janizek?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 3 is the consent agenda. The agenda committee recommends to approve and place on file A, minutes of the April 5th, 2022 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board. B, the general savings, pooled funds, and CD reports from the treasurer. C, the revenue expense report and balance sheet for the period ending March 31st, 2022.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support. Okay, motion and supported by Mr. Gore. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Janizek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. And now we have number 4 is presentations. Bedford Township Sheriff Deputy of the Year, Deputy Bilal Bazi. And if Sheriff Goodenough could come on up and say a few words.
Well, thank you. And it's my honor to be here tonight to honor Deputy Bazi. And a great, his dedication to this community goes unwavering. And when I say community, not just Bedford Township, but all of Monroe County. And I want to just kind of give you a little bit of history about Deputy Bazi. He currently resides in Dearborn Heights, where he was born and raised. His father moved here from Lebanon in 1990 and his mother in 1998. He graduated from Crestwood High School in 2017 and continuing education at my alma mater, the University of Michigan, Dearborn, where he graduated with a degree in electrical engineering. Took him to law enforcement. You can see the nexus there, right? He decided to change his career paths to be happy in that being a police officer. It's something he's always admired since his younger age. He views law enforcement as a very prestigious and rewarding career. He began to take his first steps into the career of law enforcement, enrolled in the Oakland County Police Academy, being the youngest cadet in his class. He graduated the academy in July of 2020 and also earned an associate's degree from Oakland County Community College upon graduation. On July 27th, he was sworn in, July 27th of 2020, he was sworn in as a deputy sheriff for the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. After completing field training program, he was assigned to the Bedford Contract Unit until 2022, where now he's assigned to Frenchtown Township. Just a few statistics that brought us here today to give him and honor him for this award is his drive for traffic enforcement is unwavering. And I can tell you the citizens of Bedford Township should surely appreciate his aggressiveness. But what stands out is his fairness. It's not about writing tickets. It's about making a decision based on all the facts. He made 1,485 traffic stops in 1 year. He handled 57 traffic crashes and he wrote 263 traffic citations. So you look at the number of stops and the number of traffic citations. So I think he leveraged his skills to instruct and hopefully deter bad driving, not only through citation, but through communication. In addition, he handled 410 written reports, 187 supplements. He made 121 arrests and sought warrants for 236 other cases. So again, your attorney, Mr. Goldsmith, a fellow deputy sheriff, can tell you those are some pretty outstanding statistics for a young man of his age and his eagerness to work like that. So I present to you Deputy Bozzi. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate all of you being able to be here. Nothing else I'd rather do than be able to police Monroe County. So I appreciate that, and I thank you for everything.
Well, hold on just 1 minute.
The resolution we'd like to present to you. The sheriff stole most of my thunder from it. But this resolution is being given to Deputy Bozzi, and I'm going to I'll get right to the end. Whereas Deputy Bozzi, due to his outstanding work ethic, conducted 1,485 traffic stops, resulting in 263 traffic citations, while also investigating 881 complaints, resulting in 121 arrests and 236 warrants requests that were sent to the prosecutor's office. Now therefore be it resolved that upon review and consideration and with deep appreciation from and on behalf of the citizens of Bedford Township, the Bedford Township Board hereby designates Deputy Bozzi as Bedford Township Sheriff's Deputy of the Year and declares April 19th as Deputy Bozzi Day in Bedford Township, and granting all rights, prerogatives, and privileges attendant thereto. Congratulations.
You guys want to take a quick picture?
Troy, we want him back in Bedford.
Yeah. Troy, you want to get a picture with us real quick, and maybe Paulie? Yeah.
Great job, Bozzy. I'm missing you down here. Dude, I want him back in them hotels, Troy.
There you go. Okay.
Nope.
Don't run away.
Very cool. Are you the father? Yes. If you'd like to say a couple words, feel free. Good. Well, I know on behalf of the whole board, we really appreciate the work you guys do and the leadership, Mr. Goodenough, that you guys put forth in this community. We appreciate it so much. And thank you guys.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Oh, I didn't know if
You're
you
up.
go to the next.
Okay. Oh, 4B, Monroe County Sheriff update. You know the agenda.
Yeah.
You got one.
Good evening, board. Thank you once again, and I do want to just publicly thank you guys all for honoring our deputies, and congratulations again to Deputy Bazzi. He is really, truly outstanding in what he does. I know.
Well, and just so everybody knows, he moved closer to home.
Yeah.
It was quite a long drive for him to come here, so the only reason he's in Frenchtown is because, he's half hour closer to home. Otherwise, he probably would have stayed. So.
And unfortunately, he's at that time in his career where he doesn't have a whole lot of seniority, so that kind of tells him where he's going to go.
Okay.
So I have some stats to present to you tonight. And again, normally I like to highlight a case in March. Unfortunately, everything was pretty status quo, nothing really crazy, so I don't really have a case to highlight for you tonight, but I got a good one for you next month for April. So the stats, complaints, 453 complaints or calls for service, 39 supplements, 161 assists. We made 27 arrests for the month, requesting 23 warrants. Total number of traffic stops were 337. Policed 27 traffic crashes and issued a total of 75 citations. So that is your 10 deputies in Bedford. And then, of course, you've got the second set of stats that show all of the service work where all of the deputies, including your 10, work in Bedford. We started, and I don't remember if we sent you we started putting the statistics for the speed signs in graphs. Did we did send that to you? Okay, so you do have that? Okay. I just wanted to make sure we have a captain that's painstakingly entering that data, so it kind of makes it easier for you guys to see and decipher. Did you guys have any questions about the stats or the speed signs or the at the Secor Stearns intersection? Okay. That is all of I have tonight. If you guys have any questions about anything, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Jeff, how are we tracking compared to like Frenchtown and Monroetown?
For the speed sign or the
for overall calls for service?
I don't have the figure in front of me. I know it's close. I think Frenchtown's still a little bit higher.
Okay.
And as you know, I don't know if you're aware, but Frenchtown is adding 4 more deputies, so they're going to have a total of 8.
Okay.
So that's going to be a welcome change for it's going to actually reverberate.
Wish that would have been 10, 15 years ago.
Yes. So that's actually going to help out across the entire county.
Yes.
So it's nice to see Frenchtown kind of valuing law enforcement just like Bedford has always done. So we're excited about that. We're going to do a new direction on the state line motels. That is not off the radar. Just a little bit of a speed bump for us, but that's we're going to take a new route for investigation to possibly see if the state can't do anything about that. So, anything else?
No, we appreciate you guys coming here every month and updating us. And
thank you again for honoring us. That's really appreciative. We do appreciate it a lot. So,
yep. Thank you. Congratulations.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. You want to tell them they can leave if they?
Yeah, if anybody wants to go now, I mean, you guys feel free. We won't.
No, not you.
Be upset. We understand some of you are on duty, and
except for
we won't have them arrested.
Lieutenant Francisco needs to stay for the whole meeting.
Thank you guys very much. So item 5 is public comment. Comments limited to 5 minutes for board agenda items.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Dan Marietta. I'm Director of Business Development at La Scala Incorporated here in Temperance, Michigan. And I'm here in regards to number 8, Section B, as far as the approve the quote from IT Right. I understand this is a managed IT and managed security opportunity for the township. And so I'm here just to ask the board to consider to open this up for public bid, this opportunity. The reason I say this is because, La Scala is a veteran-owned company here in Bedford and Temperance, and we service many of the businesses here in the community throughout Monroe County, the state of Michigan, and across the country, and we specialize in managed IT and managed security. So we're just asking for an opportunity to see, the requirements of this opportunity and be able to submit a bid to be able to continue our support, of the community and the businesses here. So that's what I'm requesting is just the board to consider opening it up for bid instead of just going right to signing the approval.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more comments from the public?
Good evening, George Welling, 8390 Lambert.
Please speak in the microphone.
Good one, Greg.
At least mine's on. Not trying to butt heads or anything like that, but I'm here to talk about 8B also. My experience with IT companies, I've had 4 of them working for my own company. When I worked for AT&T, I worked with IT groups for different products. Same thing with Northern Telecom, worked with their IT department. AT&T's IT department, an awful lot of them because of the business I was in. And frankly, I found that IT Right was the best IT company I've ever worked with ever, especially dealing with what we're dealing with in there. They helped set up teams with me when we first ran into that problem. And there's times that we had a couple problems that they came in later to work with me at night. And they've always seemed to know where to go, what to do, etc., that type of thing. And I guess I'm kind of asking to really look hard at IT Right again. I've never dealt with a better company. Yeah, I've never dealt with Scala. So, but that's my point. I really would like you folks to come in. If you want to talk to me about it afterwards, come on. I'll let you know what's going on. Thank you. That's all I wanted. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your comments.
Josh Niedercore, 7948 Wiseman Road, Lambertville. I want to comment on item 8D for gear washing for the fire department. I'm volunteer on one department locally, and just from like going through the fire academy and learning about a lot of the hazards and stuff within the fire service, there's been a lot of cancer over the decades because of like dirty gear and a lot of unsafe practices and stuff. But through different standards and different rules that have been written, it's helped save a lot of lives from cancer down the road. A lot of people want to be around for their families when they retire, you know, let's say 30 years later. So this gear washer machine is actually going to be really good for the fire department to have them look clean for their gear and also just health and wellness for them too. So I just ask that it's something that gets taken care of for the department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. Any more comments? Okay. All right, moving on to unfinished business. 7A, approve the process for the recruitment of a new fire chief. We have had a lot of discussion on this. Had an issue a couple board meetings ago where we couldn't get a decision made. Mr. Montry really pressed the issue and held the board off from making a decision about, you know, looking local and, you know, putting it out there, you know, to where we're not, you know, going to spending $25,000. So it kind of got a few of us thinking a little bit more, and that's when the agenda item we have on here for one of the options would be to look for a fire chief locally within the fire department first. And I think it's a great idea for us to do that. I know there's something to be said for going outside of the fire department. And 5 years ago, I was 150% behind that because our fire department had a long ways to go to get caught up to where it needed to be in the 21st century with equipment, buildings, staff, you name it. And we're there now for the most part. A lot of things need to be tweaked, like everything, but I think it's important for us to at least look in-house and see if there is somebody, which I think that there is from some of the applications and emails, to look locally and somebody that the men and women are already behind and support and trust and keep the great things we have going and, you know, give that a shot first. So that's why I have it on there. You know, so I'm going to open it up for discussion to see which direction the board would like to go. If we'd like to spend the money and go outside of the community or go outside of just the in-house, then it's one of the options too. So anybody have any thoughts?
I do.
Mr. Brewing?
Well, if you remember when Adam was trying to promote Doug to deputy chief, he said Doug was the only one even qualified for that position. So that would mean no one's qualified to be chief, from what he was saying. But I have no, because even if we go with an outside firm, the local candidates can still apply for it.
Mm-hmm. But we're spending $25,000 to do it. If we spend a month taking applications in-house and we find an applicant that's worthy, we save the taxpayers $25,000. We put it a year or 6 month to a year probation in place where we get quarterly updates from captains, lieutenants, and even from the fire chief. And if it works out, great. We just saved money and we got somebody in-house and keep things flowing and take the burden off the back of Mr. Keene. And if it doesn't work out, we have the right to let him go and then start the process and spend the money and find somebody. But I think it's an easy decision for me to at least look at what we have.
Now, as far as this, for the internal candidates, if we did internal candidates, are they going to be like vetted also as far as background checks and everything else like that?
Yeah.
And if
I
so,
would
does
say yes.
I was going to say, you want that done? Would you be doing it, Trudy, or who would do that? You already have
I
enough
can
on
do
your plate.
some. We would have to pay for the bigger ones that I said I would request.
Well, I don't think
no
we're
matter
going
who
to
it
get 50
was.
applications, so I mean,
No.
it's not like we're going to get overwhelmed.
yeah.
No,
you
but
know.
I would definitely want background checks.
Yeah, for sure.
No matter which way we go.
So, anybody else have any thoughts, Mr. Gore?
So I like the idea of looking in-house, because what's been the average of the last couple fire chiefs? 4 or 5 years, and then they move on, tops?
Are you talking the last two outside
Yeah, last two outside.
one of them lasted maybe a year, so
So I don't want to spend $25,000 every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I really don't want to do that. That's ridiculous. I like the idea of looking in-house, but I'd take it one step further and take other applications also locally. Maybe there's somebody from TFD that's looking to retire from there and to move on. Not looking back there. So, or somebody from other agencies. I just, I would like to take some additional applications. So if we take in-house, we go through a month of vetting and nobody cuts the mustard or whatever, then we're starting from square one, and now we're going, if we have to hire a company, that's a 3-month process. Now we're 4 months down the road. So I would like to see additional people allowed to apply for that if we're going to look locally in-house.
So, you want to talk? My thoughts on that is we have two options here, in my opinion. One, totally in-house. Bedford Township, in-house. Option 2, hire a firm. Because if we open it up to the public, we could end up with 200 applications. Because, I mean, you don't know how widespread it can go. And when that happens, then we're in the same boat of how are we whittling it down? Who's doing all the background checks? Who, forming a committee. We might as well hire a company at that point.
Are we going to form a committee, which I'm in support of the committee, and come up with parameters? Sorry, George. He's going to yell at me. As far as education, training, experience, years of service, are we going to have that all the way a list?
I think a lot of that we are. Go ahead.
I was going to say we already have the one we used prior for the other fire chiefs that we've hired. So I do have a fire chief, per se, job description that we could use if that's what you're looking for.
That's what I'm looking
Yes.
for, is like setting the parameters, guidelines. I mean, if we
Yes.
put it out to additional people, if we're looking for a bachelor's degree in fire science, are we looking for a bachelor's degree in anything? Are we looking for 10 plus years experience? Are we looking for, what leadership role they have in? You just can't be a 2-year firefighter at a small department and you're going to apply for this chief's job. That's not going to happen.
No.
We'll vet them out quickly. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yes, we do have that.
Mr. Steiner.
So nobody wants to spend dollars. I mean, that's inevitable. But what everybody just said, if we think what was just said, you're talking about the experience, you're talking about the vetting, you're talking about interviewing processes and the committees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As I said before, and this is nothing against anyone sitting here, I'm not qualified to do that job when it comes to hiring a fire chief, and I honestly don't think anybody else is here. If you think you are, let me know, and if you've got the experience, I listen to it. I don't think just internal is enough for this size of fire department, where we're at, where we're headed, and the future growth that we're going to have coming forward. Again, honestly, we don't have the vetting skills for a fire department, fire chief. The one thing about whether it's McGrath or whether it's GovHR what was the other one? Or in Davis. No matter who it is. But I will say at least McGrath and GovHR, they have the assessment process, and I think they call it assessment room. And not only do they have the people with the skills, previous fire chiefs, they also have a human resources person that not only understands human resources, that person will also understand human resources of operating a fire department, I'm sure better than just a general HR manager. Again, I don't want to spend $25,000 unnecessarily. But I think it's that we have to consider one of these companies because we need to definitely, as was said, we need to open it up. We cannot limit it just to Bedford. This needs to be wide open. I don't think we're going to get 200 plus applications, especially when there's going to be qualifications right at the top. And then even if they do get 200, okay, let's just say you did get 200 applications. Who here is going to have the time and the knowledge to go ahead through 200 applications and to vet them properly? Whereas if you get 200 that goes to one of these companies, that's their problem.
Well, just to be clear on if this board decides to go in-house but open it up to the public and not use a company, I have zero interest, and I believe that Trudy has zero interest in us handling that. Now, for us, if we're going to go in-house and we get 3 or 4 applications, I think this board is very well capable of going through a few applications and looking at the criteria and whittling it down and choosing somebody in a timely manner.
Well, to top that off.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so. But to top it off, I know that there have been a few current firefighters that have sent emails of general interest to the township board. I was actually surprised that they came through because we haven't actually decided the application process yet. I would have thought it would have at least waited till we decided in-house or hire a company. So the other big thing is, and I've already heard various things on both sides. I have heard some people like this applicant. I mean, people have even told me names before the emails were coming through. Oh, this guy, yes, this guy, no. This guy, yes, this guy, no. If you just automatically hire from within the department, and I won't even put our fire department on the spot for an answer, but the minute you just go right in-house, you're going to tick off part of the fire department right off the bat because there's certain people, I don't care how well you're liked, there's people that don't like you. There's people that don't like every single one of us at some point here. There's people that like all of us.
I think everybody likes me. Pretty sure. I don't know if you watch Facebook or not,
but I think you catch my point there. So that's another risk factor that we have to look at. The one thing with the 2 companies that have the assessment rooms, they also would interview our fire department, our leaders here. They'd be part of the process, so it wouldn't be just going blind. They said they would introduce the applicants to our fire department here as well through that process. I mean, I don't want to just keep repeating. I think you know where I'm going with this. I just think that we need a professional source to do it right. I don't want to do it for 30 days, go in-house, and then decide, well, maybe this wasn't the best route to go. Now we go back to another company, and now we've got another 3.5 months, and now we're out 4.5 months, 5 months before we hire a chief. And as you said, I get it. If we could hire in-house, it would be quick. Now, think about it this way. Granted, it's an expense, but if this one of these companies came up and said, you know what, out of these people that applied internally, there's your top notch right there. They can cut that assessment early, and we can move on it and get a fire chief in quicker if they believe that that is the best way to go. I mean, I'll stop it there. I mean, it's just my opinion, and then whatever happens from a vote standpoint, it happens.
Anybody else have any comments?
Piggybacking off what Rick said, we have seen a couple letters of interest come through. Also, a letter of interest come through from somebody outside the area but lives in this area that works for a rather larger department, a high-ranking member in that fire department. And to exclude that person that lives in Bedford would be a disservice. At least if we open it up and went in-house and locally, we'd get a couple more applicants.
Yeah, I'm just to speak to that. So here's why I'm so passionate about in-house. It's not, you got somebody who lives here already, who's embedded into the community, loves the community, and that's proof with some of the leadership that we have. You know, they've been here a long time. They do a fantastic job. They're not here for just a paycheck. They're here because they love their community. I think with in-house, you could get that. You have the trust, you know the department, you know the direction they're going from the direction we've already been for the last 5 years, which has totally been different from where we were. And it could be a smooth transition. You know, you already have the leadership in place that can help out and kind of guide. With somebody outside, no matter where you go, you're going to have, you know, a process of getting acclimated, the fire department earning the trust. You know what I mean? There's just so much that goes along with it, and then they might not work out. You know what I mean? And we've spent money to do it.
I agree. I don't want to see somebody from, you know, Nevada come here and stay here for 3 years and leave, and we just wasted $25,000. I agree with that. But I also want to see, you know, what's out there locally. Like I said, there's somebody from interest from a larger fire department that lives right here in Bedford, and kids go to school right here in Bedford.
Oh, I don't disagree with you, but how are we going to do that, though? Because we're going to have to open it up to the public.
So
and then you're going
to open it up.
But then you're going to get, we don't have a clue how many applications we're going to get, and how are we going to handle that?
That's why we hired a firm.
You're going to have to hire a firm. That's why I said you either hire a firm or you don't, you go in-house. That's what I've said.
I'm fine with hiring a firm.
What if
we can't saddle Trudy with all this.
What if we open it up to internal candidates and candidates who live in Bedford?
I would be okay with that.
Can you do that legally?
How are you
Phil?
going to?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you can.
I'll give my.
We can
go ahead,
invite
Phil.
who we want to make an application. I mean, this is sorry, George. This is the board's, it's the board's decision. And so if you want to invite our current firefighters to make application, and if you want to enlarge that search to include any Bedford Township residents who appear to be qualified, you can do that, and see where that goes, if you want to.
So what happens when somebody lives over in Erie, somebody lives in Ida, somebody lives in Monroe, somebody lives in Whiteford, somebody lives in Adrian, but all within proximity of here that might be the best candidate?
They might.
And I think that's the same as blocking. I mean, what if they live in Toledo? I mean, you know, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're narrowing the scope of the search, but that's not improper, because ultimately the decision is, if this board decided tonight to appoint somebody, you have the authority to do that.
Well, absolutely.
You don't have to put it out for. Sorry again. You don't have to put it out for public bids, so to speak. You are hiring a person to do a job and that requires certain qualifications. So just suggesting it, and you're right, Rick. You're narrowing the scope of the search by doing that, and there might be somebody in a surrounding community who might fit the bill. But I mean, that's a decision you have to make.
I think if we're going to do that, we just stay in-house personally. I mean, you're getting outside of the department for somebody that's going to have to learn everything. I don't need to explain everything. I just explained why I feel we need to stay in-house. Go ahead, Mr. Montre.
I was just going to give my my thoughts a little bit. I've thought a lot about it before we were looking at the different firms, and I've thought a lot about it since then. And I place a lot of value in the situation on genuine a genuine desire to be a part of the Bedford Fire Department, not I want a fire chief job and because our history shows, like what we've all talked about, it's gonna be a revolving door. It's gonna keep costing money. And just a nonstop cycle, as opposed to someone who wants to be here and takes pride in being the fire chief of the Bedford Fire Department. And I don't know how you get that outside of internally, and or like what you're saying with, if you're talking a Bedford resident that this is where they're from, this is where they want to be and want to stay. I think more importantly, I don't know how you get around the staying part. I think anybody's fooling themselves if you think that you're going outside of those realms if you think you're getting someone that's going to stay.
And I think there's risk involved in anything we do. You go
Yeah,
in house 6
nobody's gonna
months
be
later,
perfect.
the guy that we pick could say that, you know what, this isn't for me. I don't, you know what I mean? And there you go. Now we go, now we open it up. Now we hire a firm and look for somebody. We tried it, but I just feel really strongly about, opening it up, 30-day application, 45-day application in-house, see what we get, and try that route first. I just feel very strongly about that. So,
And if we do that, again, if somebody wants to be a fire chief, majority, not all of them, because there are some people that say, I want to be a chief so I can be a chief. But the majority of these guys and women that are going to apply are looking for a fire chief job for an experience. And unless they're closer to retirement, your average person out there, no matter whether it's a fire chief or what their job is, their goal is to better themselves for most people. So to say somebody, you want them to become a fire chief, and you know what, since you came to Bedford, you really need to think about living here for the rest of your life, stay the fire chief, etc. But what if we did hire somebody that they became the fire chief, they were good, but they weren't the top-notch candidate that finds every nook and cranny and every single penny, every single grant, etc. Whereas if you spent the 25 and you hired and you got the best of the best, if that person might get you hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants and savings and things like that, that was well worth my $25,000. So again, just another school of thought.
okay. I'm going to make a motion that we go with option 1 to post the position internally for 30 days.
I'll support it.
Okay, we have a motion to support by Ms. Januzak. Any more discussion? I would just say that we'll put it on next agenda to show the parameters and the post and what it'll look like, Ms. Hirschberger. Is it something we can have for next agenda and have it looked at and approved by the board before we actually put it out there to the fire department? So we have a motion and support. Any more discussion? None? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Peroni.
Aye.
Ms. Januzak.
Aye.
Mr. Gore.
No, and if you would have included Bedford Township, I would have said yes.
Mr. Steiner.
And with all respect to anybody that's on our current department that would apply, I respectfully have to vote no, because I think we need to search for the best of the best.
Mr. Bruning.
I'm a no also, because I want this open at least at a minimum to Bedford residents, not just internal, because Adam already said no one was qualified.
Mr. Montry.
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
Motion passed 4-3. Okay, we'll have it for the next agenda. Moving on to 8A, vouchers for payment.
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $367,405.59. Fire District Fund, $20,295.04. Police Fund, $207.17. Park Operating Fund, $524.60. Fire Equipment, $1,637.49. Transit System Fund, $45. Metro Act Fund, $2,000. Downtown Development Authority, $137.31. Library Operating Fund, $200,508.64. Sewer O&M Fund, $7,722.69. Trust and Agency Fund, $4,477.50, for a grand total of $604,961.03.
Support.
Okay, motion and support of Ms. Januzak. Discussion. I just want to say the $2,000 for the Metro Act funds is from the
Signage?
signage, correct?
Yeah.
Could you call a roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye. Motion passed 7-0. Item 8B, approve the quote from IT Right. Ms. Hirschberger?
So my memo says almost everything here. The increase is due to the cyber attack. We want to make sure that we have all that cybersecurity in place. I detailed what the new items would be. IT Right also has been including the fire departments but not charging us. So they would be, still stay with our contract, but we would be charged for them now. And the cybersecurity that they use is also used with the state of Michigan. The Michigan State Police also use the same cybersecurity that they would be installing on our systems. Mr. Allen, today I asked him if our contract could go from July to the end of June to stay with our fiscal year, because right now it would start May 11th. He said he could do that, and he is willing to waive the fee from May to July and start us on July.
So I'll just, is that all you were, is that it?
I'm waiting to see if anybody else has any more comments or
I was just going to
questions.
say, for me, and, Trudy's been well aware of this, and so is Chris there. Well, you weren't on the board then, I think, when we were hired. But I was torn when La Scala applied, and we had to go with somebody outside the community, but it was an easy decision because the amount was so different. I think IT Right captured a niche market, and they've done a good job. I don't think we really have much complaints. Originally when the quote went out, I think La Scala was bidding 7-day a week, 24/7 coverage, and IT Right was bidding 5-day-a-week coverage. So I think, there was a little, I don't know if it was clearly on the paperwork or what, but I just think that, was something, that he was a little bummed about. And I think it's tough for me because we do have a local guy, veteran owned, took a chance in Bedford with a school, and it's something that was dilapidated and probably going to be torn down, is turning into a beautiful building and something that, is really growing, and they have multiple employees now. So for me, it's tough because I would like to see us open it up, and I would like to see La Scala get the bid because they are local. But like I said, it was an easy choice for this last board when it's a $27,000 difference. I don't know where it would be, today. I know in 2024 they're going to be at $31,680. That's a big difference from where we were, when they first quoted. I think they were 11 grand or something, 12 grand. It was insane, the difference. But so that I just wanted to say that,
And I can say that even at their highest, they're still lower than the bidding process we had before. This is still lower than it was then.
Did we not take bids this time?
We don't have to. I can tell you that if we bid this out, we will not get this pricing. This is pricing based on us being a current customer.
So if we bid it out, they would come back and
They would
charge
be
us.
higher. Yes.
Mr. Steiner.
And unfairly, if we do bid it out at this point, their cost is
prices.
already out there.
Yes. Yes.
The other thing is, IT Right also specializes in BSNA.
Yes.
I don't know personally, I don't know the background of La Scala, if they have BSNA background or not. And I will say also with the list here, I mean, I'm not going to try to count here. There's probably, 15, there's probably over 70, 80 different locations, counties, cities, townships, et cetera, that they're already doing business with at IT Right. So they're pretty strong in the governmental unit.
That's all they serve is government.
But imagine having a business here in your own community where you provide the same service as the company they from Lansing or Battle Creek?
Branch.
Yeah, they're from Bath.
From the, you know what I mean?
Bath.
It would be a tough pill to swallow being the local guy and not having at least a crack at it. Now, I don't know what the prices they're going to be if they have to bid it. Which kind of bothers me that, yeah, you're right. Their price is out there now. But like I said, I just wanted to say it, I get it. They do a good job. Sorry.
Right.
I didn't know we were.
No, I just want to echo what Rick said about with BSNA. I deal with BSNA on a daily basis, and if I have an issue and I can't get into a certain aspect of that program, I will call IT Right. And if IT Right can't fix that problem, they will call BSNA directly, and they will, because they know the programs and they've worked with, they will and hang up with me, and they will contact the company and fix the issue. I've been extremely happy with IT Right and all the dealings that I've had to deal with them. Anytime there's an issue, and I'm not saying that La Scala wouldn't have, be the same issue, same way, but I personally am extremely happy with IT Right because their knowledge and know-how with our computer programs that we use in this building on a day-to-day basis, I just am more comfortable with that. That's just.
And I can't argue with Krista. They've been good to work with. I just, like I said, I still think it's still a hard thing to do not to put it out there for our local people.
Well, moving forward for me, and I understand that the bid is already out there, and if we were to bid it out again, they would change. So fine. So it's through 2024, which of course is at the end of the next election cycle. If I'm still here at the end of 2024, I'm going to want to see this bid out. I'm going to want to see our local companies bid on something like this. I can't say that I'll be here in the end of 2024. Oh, sorry, George. But I would like to see quotes and bids next time.
And just so the board's aware, professional services like this, our attorneys, is not something we're forced to bid out, but the board can request it.
Okay.
Keep in mind, too, they could come in cheaper with it being bid out. I mean,
it could.
They can say they're going to come in higher. Well, so either way, like I said, I'm total agreement with you guys. Very happy. George, there's no issues there. But, when we have somebody local that can give us the same product, I just, that's serving our community, that's helping our baseball teams out, that's giving money to, whatever. It's a big deal for me.
Well, I think both. I think we have a responsibility to, or maybe not a responsibility, it's too strong of a word, but to a local company. But more importantly, it's our job to represent our citizens and our taxpayers. As far as that's what where my head is at, as far as bidding something back out, is are you going to get a better price or whatever on the if we put it back out? And that's where I'm not. That's where I'm torn, is, if you will, as well as, like, you're not. If you're happy with all services, it makes it more difficult to want to risk that. And it's kind of what I had thought when we were looking at Rawlings and Rawlings doing the chiller at the library and whatnot. It's like, you got a contract. You you're putting yourself in a weird spot, and that might not actually be long-term good decision. But yeah, I'm a little torn with it as well, to not put it back out. But I said, I don't know that I'm convinced that we're going to get a better deal for if we do.
I'm not even so concerned about a better deal, or a couple of $1,000 is a huge. I'm more concerned of, Greg Lascala's come a long way, and I don't even know if there is any other IT companies in Bedford. He's come a long way from the house on Lewis Avenue. It's not the same company that bid on this 3 years ago. It's if we can give, even when we had the bid last time and it was that big of a, if you can give it to a local guy and it's a couple $1,000s difference, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
On a bigger project like that, you can just
give it to a local company. Yeah, 100%.
I've said what I'm going to say. So, like I said,
Good.
It's hard one for me. Super happy with the company, but also you have a local company here. So I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract with IT Right for 3 years, with the price of $23,760 the first year, $27,324 the next, and $31,680 for 2024. It'll start July 1st and run 3 years from that date.
Support.
Okay, motion in support of Mr. Bruning. Any more discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Nay.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Nay, just for the simple fact, I think we probably should have just put it out for bid, but that's it. Okay, motion passed 5-2. Okay, moving on to 8C, approve agreement and payment for modifications of electric facilities at Fire Station 2. Well, hey there again. You're becoming a regular.
One of these times I'm going to show up where we don't need money. Chris Benson with Jacobs Architects, 25 Washington Street, Monroe. I'm going to do my best to explain the electrical service. At some point prior to this renovation to the building, the structure itself needed to have three-phase power. I'm not an electrician, so I'm going to do my best here. A third wire is jumpered in to help create that three-phase power that is needed. And I don't know why they needed it, if it was equipment or whatever. But that was done previously, I can't tell you how many years ago. But that was done previously to the building. When we started the renovation project, the building needs three, I hate to use the word legal, but I guess code compliant three-phase. Three-phase is not available on Conceer Road. It is on Monroe Street, or Monroe Road, I guess you guys call it. So they have to bring it down. The same thing happened with Fire Station number 1. Fire Station 1 had to have three-phase brought in. The difference was three-phase was right there on Temperance Road. So I remember correctly, that one cost $16,000 to bring in. This one, we were rather surprised at the amount, but there was no way of knowing what to budget for this cost because Consumers does not give you that cost until you submit a work order. Once you submit the work order, they do their investigations, they put their plan together, and then they send the bill to you. So that came to $60,000 and some change. In your packet, I believe you have all the same information I do, but the three-phase power that is available on Monroe Road has to be brought down. They have either to upgrade power poles or replace 4 power poles to get it to the building, and the transformer also needs to be replaced. In the words of the electrician working on the job, he said it was an ancient system that was there between the wiring and the transformer. So this is really an electrical code issue with getting the building to be compliant to true three-phase power. so that, it's code compliant and it's a safety issue as well. So the consumer's bill, obviously being a utility, non-negotiable. There's no other choice. We can't put it out and ask anybody else for a price.
Anybody have any questions?
The best explanation I have.
Mr. Steiner?
Just a quick question. I did talk to Mr. Jacob a little bit briefly on this, and but this particular add-on item, I believe we're still coming in just slightly below the total budget.
Correct.
Without any unforeseen circumstances coming forward.
Yeah, to our understanding, yes. The numbers that Adam had talked with us about in the very beginning was an $850,000 budget for the entire project, including everything. I don't exactly know where the number is right now, but even with this number, we are still under that $850,000. And we're probably getting to the point where we could start adding up all of the costs and, finding out where we're at compared to that $850. Now, do we want to spend that $850? No, because I know there's other wants and needs for the fire department. So, we have tried to keep every additional cost to a minimum, and anything that has come up has been something we didn't know about and something that needed to be upgraded, just unforeseen things that we wouldn't have known that, would have needed to be done at some point anyway.
You have that in old buildings. So you're just going to run into that with a big renovation. But would we be under the 850 if we put a new roof on it?
I believe we still will be.
Because I think that's something we need to look at heavy because they're getting leaks over there on a regular basis.
Jim was there this morning with Doug, and on the south-ish side, because I know it sits on a little bit of a skew, but on the south side of the far back apparatus bay, we have noticed that like the paint's bubbling. It's not peeling, but it's like bubbling. You can actually kind of push the paint. And when they looked at that, the top coping is lifting up. So we still have to put out for bid the 2 apparatus bays and there's a little small roof that's over top of a storage room. Those 2 have not been replaced yet. And then apparently there's a leak that is in the front apparatus bay that they now have a bucket underneath. So we are going to be putting that out for bid. But we do believe that we're still going to be under that 850 that was Adam's, and who was all involved with his number. I don't know if it was just something he worked out in his own budget. But that was the number, so we believe we're still going to be under that. So the next time one of us comes back here, I'm going to have all those numbers. So you guys will get that accurate where we're at.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Okay, I look for a motion.
Can we ask Bob what they're at?
Are you prepared to speak on where they're at? That's how good Bob is. He's on the spot, sitting in the audience.
Where's your spreadsheet, Bob?
When you get that big monitor behind us, he's going to whip it right up.
That's right.
He'll be in the audience doing this right now.
I could be. Get my laptop and the monitor up there as soon as I find 206 here.
You need to get him a name tag.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Put him right next to Nancy.
Okay, I do know officially that the last meeting we did the budget resolution to bring it up to, find that number here. What was it, 500? This is the budget here is as of March 31st. But our last meeting we did the budget resolution, I forgot what we brought it up to, it was like 570,000, I believe what it was. So that is the budget. As of March 31st, it doesn't include all the expenses, but we spent 563,000. So since then, we spent a little bit more.
That doesn't seem that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to be.
That's the contract amount, and this is as of March 31st.
Well, why don't we get some good numbers for next meeting?
Yeah, well, this is what we have in in your board packet.
Mm-hmm.
Is the same numbers I have tonight.
I think what the question was though, where are we at total that's spent on this project?
Yeah.
Even if Jim or I can't be here at the next meeting, we'll at least try to have those, like a simple breakdown.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you got to come up to the mic. Okay, cool. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Okay.
So if the fire department doesn't have this money, is the township board willing to split this cost?
I would say we really don't have a choice at this point.
That's what I was thinking.
So, unless we're going to do solar.
May I ask Chris a question? So your explanation was excellent. I just wanted to make sure we all understand, and maybe even the public, Consumers Energy is charging us to upgrade their service within their right of way to provide the three-phase that we need for public safety.
Correct.
And they're not willing to negotiate that because somebody said it was ancient. It's their infrastructure. It's in their right of way, and we need it. So the next guy next door, when he needs three-phase, he gets it for free.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, and we even reached out to them to see if there's any kind of payback programs or grant programs or reduction, and there's nothing available that we have found. I'm not saying for sure there's nothing out there, but the phone calls that we made, I made 3 phone calls, and each person told me that they know of nothing that is out there to recoup any of the costs.
But I think what he's saying is it our responsibility.
That's what Consumers is telling us.
Well, I'm suggesting that it shouldn't be entirely our responsibility because we're paying to upgrade their service within their right of way for a service that we need because their infrastructure is old. I just
Can it be delayed?
When it comes to public safety, I think they should be a partner with us on that.
Right.
But
So
I don't know.
So currently, the electricians have it working. There are a couple items that cannot work until it's completely switched over because it would draw too much on the current system, which are like heaters in the stairway. We're going into summer, so they'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, I believe it can be delayed.
Did you guys happen to talk to Stephanie Blatt?
No, Carl Koss is
What?
our connection, and I believe he's like I don't want to say salesman, but he's like the contact when you need service.
Okay.
So
I'm going
I
to
don't
recommend the board just table it and let me call Stephanie Blatt at Consumers and see if I can get something worked out. And then
Yeah,
we'll break it to the next meeting.
I think
if it can be
I
delayed.
think it's worth a phone call because it's just
Absolutely.
it's disappointing to me that this is for our fire department. We need this for operational purposes. It's in their infrastructure. It's for public safety. I would think they would want to partner with us on that.
Thank you, Phil.
And-
Appreciate it.
And you will probably be able to go farther up the food chain than I can.
Yeah, let me at least give it a shot.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, at this point, they will not do anything until the bill is paid.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's on its hold until you guys write the check.
Okay.
So,
All right. Cool. And I'll
Cut the
call
half-
you.
Cut the bill in half and we'll pay it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
So we have a motion to table?
Okay.
Make a motion to table.
Support.
Okay, motion in support of Mr. Gore. Any more discussion? No? Call the roll.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8D, approve purchase of a gear washer extractor for the fire department. Okay, so I think it's pretty self-explanatory what we're looking at here. Obviously, the gentleman in the audience, is correct. We got to keep our fire department safe, but go ahead, Ms.
Correct.
Bankowski, if you'd like to speak to it.
If you have any
Anybody have
questions,
any
everything
questions?
that I have in there, I tried to give you as much information as I could.
Do we have washers like this now?
No, we had a gear washer at Station 1, and then we renovated, and both at Station 1 and Station 2, they were over 25 years old. Trying to get them out of the cement and move them, I'm afraid none of them were going to work. Now, we did not plug it in and turn it, because it all has to be mounted into the concrete on bolts. In the renovations, there wasn't anything for that. It needs to have, old ones needed to have an in-floor drain, and again, that was not in the plans. So we would need to dig up the concrete, dig up the tile that's already been laid at both those stations, put an in-floor drain, and put the old washer in, and keep your fingers crossed that it still worked, and that it would continue to work for 6 months, a month, a day. 25-year-old.
Is this the right size for you? Could you use bigger?
What do you mean?
As
bigger?
far as the washer, capacity wise.
The gear, well, you could. It's it's this is sufficient. We can manage that. We would just wash 2 sets of gear at a time, and we can do that. We have old gear that. What I do is, let's say somebody's in a fire and their gear clearly needs to be washed. I give them like a rental set of gear for them to use. Their gear gets washed, it's dried. We don't have dryers for them, so they hang dry. But it takes about a day and a half to get completely dried, and they get back in service. Then they wash the gear they already had on. If they sweat in there, you don't want to hand that out after a fire and somebody's worn it. It's gross. So it'll work that way. This is a little smaller. That's why the price range is $4,000 to up to $12,000. You can get them where they can wash 6, 8 sets of gear at a time. I don't think we need something like that. We don't have a fire department of 100 people working at one time. We do not have a gear washer currently. We are using a front load residential washer, which is very bothersome for me because it doesn't wash the gear efficiently. It can ruin the gear because it's spinning too fast. Residential washers spin about 400 Gs, and for the for our gear, it should be under 100 Gs. So anyway, but it is what it is. We try to gross decontaminate our gear by just hosing down after a fire. But there's so many carcinogens that it's not just the soot that you see. You can look at somebody's gear and go, wow, it looks good. But there's a ton of carcinogens that are in there that you can't see. And I just personally feel that we should care more about our firefighters and not just use a residential washer because it's cheap.
Sorry. Mr. Gore?
So I'm fine with this, and I'm ready to make a motion right now, but I'm just wondering if any more money is needed as far as for hookup, delivery, or
no,
or is it you're gonna
and
take
that's
one
why
out and put one in?
That's why researching this, if you use the $12,000 ones, you have to have all the special hookup. You have to have special drains or pumps that pump it up into a drain, but the drain has to be bigger than like a regular washer, a residential washer. The one that I picked out has a regular hookup. It does have the pump that goes into the drains that we already have at the station, and it's a soft mount, so it's kind of like your residential washer. It kind of balances itself. So it doesn't have to be like screwed into the ground and have that additional cost.
Okay.
But again, that's why they can only wash 2 sets of gear at a time instead of 6.
And just want
Ms.
to make sure
Hirschberg.
you're getting enough.
Ms. Hirschberger?
So you said you don't have any right now. Should we be
Correct.
ordering 2 then, or 3, so that there's one at each location?
In the dream world, that would be spectacular. But we know that our budget is going to be a little bit tight, and we can make this work. And I'm trying to work on some other funds to be able to offset. Maybe if we can get another one funded from a different source. But our immediate need is we need a gear washer, and we need it like 6 months ago. So that's why, yeah, ideally that would be nice to have a gear washer at every station. But that would be a want. This right here, one washer, that's a need.
So if somebody's at Lewis Avenue Station and they go on the run, they go back there, they just have to run over to Monroe to wash their gear or Temperance or wherever it is.
Correct. It will probably be at Station 3 because that's right off the bay. Station 1, the way it was designed, we have a washer and a dryer in there, but there's not room for a gear washer. So if we would put a gear washer in, which sounds spectacular, but then we don't have a place for a washer. And what we shouldn't be doing is washing the towels that we, wipe things down. Your dish towels, bedding should not be washed in a gear washer with all those carcinogens.
Keep your cups
So
clean, too.
so it's going to be at Station 1, we're going to have to choose. Do we want a gear washer and then not have a regular washer, or do we want... So right now, this one will probably go to Station 3 because the where the washer would be located and everything would be more conducive of having a gear washer.
Okay.
If that makes any sense to anybody.
Mr. Gore, did you want to make the motion? And for the second washer, if you're looking for donations, I know some of the bigger companies throughout the state, do look for stuff like that. They're
Correct.
looking for some-
And I've done some grants, but, just when you do a grant, they look at what our budget is, and they say, oh, well, you have plenty enough money to
we gave
buy a gear washer, but we don't.
we gave Doug some of those contacts today.
Correct. And that's what I'm going to pursue
Okay.
for hopefully a second one.
Okay. Mr. Steiner?
Trudy beat me to the more units question, so I don't have to go over that. One, just a comment. This MES, I don't understand what they bid. $118,000.
Oh, that was just their total.
So they had,
at the top. It says
they really
two
couldn't-
sets
Just
of
all the options.
The very first, right? They did. That's what they did, and then it was the total. It's
So you
like, my
just
goodness,
couldn't-
we don't need 100 washers.
And that's what I assumed just by looking to how many sets you could wash, and that was the unit. But other than that,
Correct. It's actually the very first one that says 2 sets,
Right.
and that's at 4,680. So the Darley is 45. So
but the one thing that does say in the Darley quote, it does say FOB delivered, so there's your delivered pricing, no extra charges. But I did notice too, a little strange that the quotes in the special term says the quote expires January 31st of 2022, but yet the quote was written on April 5th of 2022. So
yeah, I don't.
is this definitely a good number?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I think that was maybe a mistake. I guess I didn't.
Yeah, I think they
Gore.
just,
Notice
they
that,
somebody
sorry.
just probably
Go ahead,
took an
just do
old
it.
form
Start
and
doing it.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Gore, here we go.
I make a motion to approve the purchase for a Darley BP 208 washer extractor, 22 pounds at the price of $4,500.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Bruning. Any more discussion? Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8E, approve application for a farmland agreement for parcel number 5802-002-017-05 West Samaria Road.
So this property is owned by Jason Adler. The property is located northeast of the intersection of Lewis Avenue and Samaria Road, and the parcel consists of approximately 45.15 acres in size. The property does not have access to either public water service or public sewer. Monroe County Comprehensive Plan designated the property as ag preservation. The Bedford Township Master Plan designates the property as ag preservation as well. The property is not in a 100-year flood zone, and this farm is over 40 acres and is eligible for the Farmland Preservation Program. The application was reviewed by both the Monroe County Community Planning and Engagement and the Monroe County Conservation District. Both approved this So if there's no questions.
Real close to water.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for inclusion in the Farmland and Open Space Preservation Program for a maximum of 90 years because it is consistent with the intentions of Part 361 of Public Act 461 of 1994, more commonly known as PA 116, as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion and support by Mr. Bruning. Discussion? Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 7-0. Item 8F. I look for a motion to go into closed session to discuss a pending litigation with legal counsel.
Make a motion to go into closed session, discuss pending litigation with legal counsel.
Second.
Okay, motion supported by Mr. Steiner. Discussion.
Do we only need one motion for both sessions?
I'll go to the next one as well.
Okay.
That we can
Oh, I
handle.
thought we could have one motion to go into close to discuss both. Can't we do one motion to close?
Yeah.
And handle.
Okay.
To do-
Okay,
then
we
have
just
to
need
come
one.
back up.
Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 7-0, and we'll go to room C, and we'll resume.
When we get back.
Okay, I look for a motion to come back in from closed session.
I'll make a motion to come back in from closed session.
Second.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Steiner. Any more discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Okay, I look for a motion on 8F.
I'll make a motion on 8F, and the motion will be to follow the advice of legal counsel to settle the case.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Bruning. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8G, I look for a motion on 8G.
I will make a motion that we appoint our ordinance supervisor as the hearing officer for the pending 1919 Dog Law Act case.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Steiner. Discussion?
That was me.
Was that Mr. Montry? All right, I thought. Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Okay, we have no public anymore. So comments from township board members. Mr. Steiner?
I'll pass this evening.
Mr. Matra?
Nothing from me.
Mr. Gore?
Just want to, again, congratulate Deputy Bazzi on Deputy Year for Bedford Township. For young deputies, doing an outstanding job. I hear nothing but good things about him. And with that, everybody have a good evening and good rest of the week.
Mr. Bruning?
We have this Saturday, the 23rd, at White Park, 10 a.m. Volunteer Day. If anyone wants to help clean up the parks, that is going on this Saturday. Again, they're meeting at 10 a.m. at White Park.
Okay. Ms. Janizek?
I just want to wish everyone a happy weekend, safe, and also congratulate Mr. Bazzi. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Hirschberger?
I, too, just want to echo everyone's congratulations to Deputy Bazzi. That's all I have.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool seeing the stats of Mr. Bazzi. We got Dottie's that opened up on Lewis Avenue, right there at Lewis and Temperance, right behind Maggie's, or not behind Maggie's, just south of Maggie's. So we've got a few cool old boutiques in that little section now with some of these new businesses. So get down there and check them out, support our local businesses. It is Small Business Week, and there's going to be a seminar coming up for that. Kickoff meetup will be May 4th. If you're interested in that, just let me know or give me a call. But other than that, lots of positive things happening in the community. Lots of great opportunities with the Seco Road widening project. I know the roundabout will be coming back to us. We did get word that we did receive the award of just under $1.1 million. So the board will have, and that's for construction costs, and opportunity to go after that. Yeah, so our budgeting time has started, and we're looking at the future in a lot of different areas. A lot of good planning and happening with the ARPA funds. We've got some great ideas coming from Bob in our finance area of how we can plan for the future with SADs as part of the money. I think Trudy and Bob have been working on that. It's a great idea to properly fund roads for the future, and they could, save a lot of money without having to bond those. So, yeah, I'm excited for some of the things we have going on. Other than that, if you have potholes, call the road commission. This is the time of the year when the frost thaw has happened and it's spring, it's warming up. You will see potholes. I'm getting a lot of messages about fixing and resurfacing your neighborhood. If you want your neighborhood maintained or fixed outside of potholes, if you haven't already pulled an SAD, you need to call the clerk's department and talk to Ms. Hirschberger and work on pulling a special assessment district. That's the only way your neighborhood roads will ever get reworked or resurfaced. There's just not enough money from the road commission to fix everybody's neighborhood road. The good thing is the board has put together a program. Once you do that, we're going to help maintain that with crack seals, which helps the road last a heck of a lot longer. So other than that, if nobody has any more comments or anything else to add, I look for a motion to adjourn. Okay. Motion supported. We're adjourned.